Challengers was just released in theaters, and the biggest question from it is Challengers Zendaya's best role? Challengers was just released, and going into it, I had pretty low expectations, but surprisingly, I was blown away. I actually enjoy this movie a lot more than I thought I would. And thinking on it, just for all the movies we've seen, I think this may actually be my second favorite movie of the year, right after Dune. Given there haven't been too many great movies this year, but still, I think this movie was really well written and well directed. I think a few standouts for me is, of course, the actors. I think they did a great job, and I do think this is one of Zendaya's best roles. Yes, Spider-Man movies may be better, but I think her role as MJ is a little bit more one-dimensional and doesn't take nearly as much work and doesn't have as much depth as her character does in this movie. And surprisingly enough, the soundtrack to this movie was really well done. And when I tell you about it, it's going to sound really odd because it was like this techno EDM music that you really wouldn't expect for a tennis movie. I know I didn't expect it for a tennis movie, but I think it did a good job keeping a fast pace even in slower scenes, especially ones that may be seen as a bit more boring as nothing's really happening, but because of the upbeat music, it still keeps the tension, keeps the drama going, and keeps you, at least kept me invested. So that was surprisingly really good. And I just think it was well written. I think it was a really good drama and it was a fun story.
Clearly this is not aimed for me. This is not my cup of tea. And I was telling Griffin like before this, I was like, I fucking hate tennis. Like I
I
just
don't
I
think I've ever
find it,
watched a single game of tennis.
yeah, no, never. I don't know the rules. It's not for me. I'm not dogging on the sport. It's just, it's not my cup of tea. It's same goes for golf. However, when he brought this up, I was like, all right, let's give it a shot, let's see what's going on. The acting in this movie, although this is not my genre, this is not something I care about, is top notch. Great directing style, great editing. The soundtrack is, it's a little wonky.
Yeah.
She's great in the movie. There's no doubt. But she also looks great too. So it's not my cup of tea, clearly. And but even though it still keeps me engaged. I wasn't like, just shut up, man. Just end. I wasn't looking at my watch, which is something that I found myself doing with some of the movies that we've reviewed this year. So that's cool. That's a thumbs up. They were able to at least make me care about, which is, I think that's where I
Hmm.
give them props. I don't give a shit about this. I don't care about the situation. And they were able to engage me. I was able to care about the characters. I was able to at least walk away with saying that's some pretty solid ass acting. The I can say this movie's not trash.
Yeah.
It's not a bad movie. It's just not my thing.
Yeah, it's
That
totally
doesn't
fair.
but that doesn't mean that it's, in any way bad. I don't have a thing bad to say about the movie. Solid
Yeah.
acting, solid cast, and I was entertained, even though it's not for me. So that's
That's
rare.
honestly
That's
really
awesome.
good. I mean, we don't review too many dramas on this channel. This honestly may be the first one, and they did a great job. It kept both of us engaged. And as Edward just touched on, neither one of us looked at our watch, and this movie's 2 hours 15, 2 hours 20 minutes. That's
We've
a
had
pretty
shorter
long
movies
movie.
that feel longer than this.
Oh, absolutely.
I would
And
watch this 10 times over than Rebel Moon, both
yeah.
parts, and the other fucking movies we've
No,
seen this
this
year.
is a movie I would honestly watch again. I think they really kept the drama up, and like I said, I felt invested, and I think part of that had to do with the characters, because all the characters are pretty terrible people. I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah,
they're
they're all
pretty awful
shitty.
people. But I also think because of that, it was a bit more realistic. You didn't really have this perfect character. You had more realistic characters as they're put in more realistic situations and they react. All of them seem like regular people. Some of them a bit toxic. And at the end, you're not really rooting for one side in particular. You may be rooting against one side, but you're not rooting for one of them just because they're all awful. And this may be the only time I say this, but as we've mentioned with the tension and the drama, I think this is the only time I highly recommend watching the trailer before going to see the movie. Because watching the trailer, you do get to know a little bit more about this movie before going in. You know that there is this weird little love triangle, and Zendaya's character has a sports injury. And so at the beginning of this movie, you already know this information, so the tension's already built up for you as you're waiting for it to happen and anticipating it. That I do think adds a bit more to the beginning. Whereas I don't know if it's going to be slower for other people, but I do recommend watching the trailer before going into this movie just to help with the tension, because that's probably the best part. Because I don't think the tension ever dipped once for me, and I really enjoyed it.
I forgot about the trailer, and I like when the movie started, like I forgot what the hell this was even about. So I was like, it's funny that you mentioned that because I was actually really surprised. I was like, oh shit, I'm in a tennis movie. I had
Yeah.
forgotten that part.
Yeah, no, it this movie is about tennis, but it is a pretty intense drama, and give it a try. Let us know what you thought about Challengers. We were very interested to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed this movie, you can check out this video right up here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.